Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? Well, I just dropped Alex off. I think he's in the Uber behind me. He is going downtown to meet up with some of his girlfriends, and they're gonna go out for a little bit. And he asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, no, I kind of want to low-key it tonight. So I'm going to get Tanya Jean Applestein, prettiest girl I've ever seen, for a fountain pop. And yeah, I have a little bit left of my coffee today. We went to Alex's, one of his holiday parties. He has like 3 this year, for different work stuff. And we went to one of them tonight. It was really nice. And he wore like a blue velvet suit, and I wore these black pants and this black sweater, and then these ASOS shoes. And it was fun. We had a good time. Got to see a lot of people that I only get to see like once or twice a year, so that was nice. It was fun. It feels weird that it's almost like the holiday season. So, you know, everybody was talking about it, and they did this one early because, you know, once you get into December, there's so many holiday parties, and you know, then some people do their holiday parties after the holidays, and so they were like, well, we decided that we were going to do it early this year. So it was fun. We had a good time. They had like it was in this place called Bar Louie, which is like a restaurant in Carmel on the north side of Indianapolis. And then they had it upstairs. So it was like we had the whole upstairs, and they had like a buffet of food. And it was nice. They had like mac and cheese and cheese quesadillas and hummus and dip and stuff like that. It was kind of like, and chicken fingers. It was kind of like bar-ish food, but it was fun. We had a good time. And so yeah, and then he wanted to go out with some of his girlfriends that he hasn't seen for a while, and they were all going downtown. So he was like, do you care if I go out? And I was like, no, not at all. He was like, do you want to go with me? And I was like, no, I really kind of want to just like low-key it. I was thinking about doing a live stream. If I get home not too late from hanging out with Tanya, I may, but I'm kind of thinking I might want to lay down for like 45 minutes or an hour and just get into bed and get cozy with the pups and watch TV for a little bit, because I'm just kind of like, just feels like it's been kind of a long day. I got up and I went and got coffee, and then I ran a bunch of errands, and he had a bunch of work stuff he had to do today, and I was doing stuff around the house. And then I went and I did a review at Dunkin' Donuts of their eggnog iced latte. And then I came home and I filmed a drama video about Jaclyn Hill on my Peter Monn channel. And yeah, and then that was like it. And then I wanted to like film some other videos, but the party started at 6. He didn't want to get there till like 6:30, so we didn't get there till 6:30, but I had to start getting ready, and it was getting late, so I just uploaded those videos, and yeah, that was it. I had a BookTube video I wanted to do, and I had a Peterisms video that I wanted to do. Well, I also posted the vlog, obviously, and yeah, so it was a good day. Like, it was relaxing, but I just feel like I've been going all day, and it's 30 degrees right now. It's kind of chilly, but it was a nice night. We had a good time. And then tomorrow, he and I are going to hang out all day long tomorrow. I'm thinking I might not even make any videos tomorrow except for my vlog. So we can just kind of hang out, because he's had like dinner plans each night this week, and we were talking about that tonight. He's like, yeah, I don't really have any dinner plans next week. And I was like, okay. And so I think tomorrow we're gonna go to brunch and then just kind of hang out the whole day. We need to watch American Horror Story and catch up on the finale of that. And I want to watch the Boulet Brothers Dragula. I want to watch the end of that season that I'm watching. I think I have 2 or 3 more episodes. I might watch one of them tonight. So I brought home some extra mac and cheese. It's right behind me. And yeah, it's just like, that's about it. Not really a whole lot that's exciting that's going on. It feels weird going to holiday parties. You know, it's like, when I worked in treatment, we had a holiday party every year. I've told this story on here before. I'll tell the whole story of the holiday party later, but so, you know, I worked at the same place for 13 years and we had a holiday party every year, but it was like the last Friday before Christmas, and it was always just like an hour, and it was in the auditorium. So, with my ex and with Alex, like they both had very serious like holiday parties for different places that they worked. And you know, Alex does like some contractual stuff, so he'll have like several different parties that we have to go to every year. And there's been like, look, the party that we went to tonight, we've been going to for, this is our like 11th year going. And so it's just kind of fun. We go to some different Christmas parties or holiday parties every year, you know? But it's weird because I'm always like the spouse. You know what I mean? Like with my ex, I was always the spouse, you know, for like the 6 years that we were together. And with Alex, I've, you know, always been like the spouse or the partner that goes. And so I've never had like my own holiday parties to go to, you know, like even when I worked in treatment, like our holiday parties weren't like parties where you like took somebody to, because they were just like at the end of the day. And I really liked those holiday parties, though. I know it sounds so corny, but like we would, so it was in the auditorium, and like where they would have like 12-step meetings and stuff. And, you know, it was like this big bright room, this huge auditorium with, you know, like 100-foot ceilings and stuff, and an auditorium, you know. But then we would go in there for the Christmas party, and it would be like all magical, and they would have the lights turned down, and like they would have all these tables they had brought in from the cafeteria, and they would have like, you know, tablecloths on them, like paper tablecloths, you know. And in the middle, they would have like candy kisses and different kinds of candy, and then they would have a, you know, a little buffet that you could go through and get like cheese and sausages and meatballs, and you know, there'd always be like a bowl of like punch, you know, like some big kind of punch or something. I know it sounds corny, but it was very sweet. It was very nice. And then, and we would sit there, and you know, there'd be like, you'd play some game or whatever, and who could ever figure it out got some prize, and they would give away different prizes for stuff, and it would be like from like 4 to like 5, and then everybody would, you know, either went back and worked your shift. If you were working during that time, you just stop in and whatever, you know, for like 5 or 10 minutes, you know, on your break or whatever. But usually for me, like at the end, I'd say like the last 8 or 9 years that I was there, like that was the end of my day. So I would go, and even though I always had to work that Saturday because I worked Tuesday through Saturdays, but I would go into the holiday party, and then yeah, it was fun. It was kind of weirdly magical. I don't know. My supervisor and I, and like the other, you know, people that I worked with, we would all sit there at the table together, and it was just kind of fun. And this one year, one of my people that I worked with, one of my partners there, she and it got really, really bad, and everybody left like early, and she and I kind of stayed late. And this is actually kind of a funny story in talking about smoking and quitting smoking and stuff like that. So this was at a point when I was like I was probably a pretty heavy smoker at the time, and I had quit smoking for like 5 days, like in a row, right? And so we left, and between like 3 o'clock and like 5 o'clock, it had snowed, like no lie, like a foot. Like we were like having like blizzard conditions outside. And the treatment facility that I worked at was like on a hospital campus. I've told this story on here before, but it's just like one of my greatest memories. I don't know why. It's just a funny memory. But anyway, she and I kept on being like, should we leave? Should we leave? And our supervisor was like, no, she wanted us to stay. And so we stayed. And Then our supervisor finally left, and then it was just like us, and so we're like, we need to get out of here, right? So we left, and I remember we walked out in the parking lot, and there's like 3 different exits from like the campus, and we were like, we didn't know like which exit to take to get home soonest. And at the time, I literally lived about a 10-minute distance from where I worked. Like, it would only take me 10 minutes to get home. So I went down this one road, and so I'm like on this road, right? And I'm literally like, if one car got through a light change, that was a lot, okay? But it was really like, no traffic was moving, and it was like snowing, like still like crazy snow, right? And you can imagine like quitting hour traffic on a Friday, the Friday before Christmas, and there's blizzard conditions outside. So we're literally like stuck in this like snowstorm. And I think she and I were like partners at the time, like caseload partners, and so that's why we like stayed the longest, or stayed until we did. So anyway, and I think maybe our supervisor told us to leave or something, I don't remember, but anyway, so I literally sat in this like gridlock traffic, which the other way is just like moving, right? And behind me is like a Burger King and a gas station and all this stuff, and I'm dying of thirst, and I'm like wanting a cigarette so bad. It's been like 5 days, you know, and I'm like in my car, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying, right? So, if you've ever smoked and quit, you know what I'm talking about. And so I'm like sitting in the car, and I'm like, it has now been like an hour and a half, okay? I've sat like in this car for like an hour and a half, and I'm like, there has to be a cigarette somewhere in this car. There has to be like a cigarette butt, or like a broken cigarette that I like dropped on the floor or something. There has to be a cigarette somewhere in this car. So I like got out, and I like started like going through my car, and underneath my seat, I found like this little like butt of a cigarette, right? Like a cigarette that I had like broken or something. And I like got in my car, and I closed the door, and I lit the cigarette, and I was like in seventh heaven. I was like, oh my God. And I literally, after sitting there for an hour and a half, you guys, okay, I literally turned around in traffic and went back to the gas station that was back there, and I got like, I don't know, like a Dr. Pepper and like 2 packs of cigarettes. And I was like, I don't care how long I sit in traffic. And then I sat in traffic, and it took me literally like 10 minutes to get home. It took me like something ridiculous, like 3, 4, 5 hours. I can't even remember. I remember she and I talked to each other that night. We were like, can you even believe how long it took us to get home? It was ridiculous how long it took us. I don't remember the last time that we've had snow like that crazy here in Indianapolis. I have a feeling this year is going to be really a bad winter. I think we're going to get really, really bad snow this year. So that was one year. And then another year, they did this thing where we got like bonuses, but our bonuses depended like if you did like everything that you were supposed to do. And there was like a checklist of things like that we were all supposed to do as like counselors. And there was like, you had to get like, you had to contact like the referral source within 24 hours. You had to do this, you had to do that, you had to do this, right? And so there were like our entire unit, like all the counselors, we had like 100% like, what's it called? Performance rate. Like we had literally done it like 100% of the time. And we were so excited because it was like some split bonus. So that if there was like this amount of like money set over here, because this is a non-for-profit organization, right? So we never got bonuses. So there was like this amount of money, and then depending on how many people did it, depended on what kind of bonus that you got. But we didn't know how much money was set aside over here, and we didn't know like what our cut was going to be. All we knew was all of us, we were like the only unit that had like 100% performance rate. And so your bonus was like based on what your performance rate was. So we knew that we were the highest, right? Well, I had a friend of mine at the time, my friend Scotty, that passed away this summer, and he worked for Seymour Tubing, which was it's a factory. They make like tubing, like big like metal tubing and stuff like that for anyway, so I don't, big warehouses and whatever. So anyway, they would get like quarterly bonuses of like $5,000 plus. So I for real thought that we were going to get like this $5,000 bonus. I was so excited, okay? So they made us go across, like we had to go across, and like the entire board of the hospital stood up there, and they like shaked all of our hands, and they were like, thank you, thank you. And then like the CEO, she would stand at the end and she would hand us this check, and then we had to go back and sit down, and we couldn't open the check. They were like, you can't open the check until you get back to your office, or until you leave, or whatever, until the whole party is over. You can't open your check. And we were like, oh my God, this is gonna be so big. We should have known when they told us not to open that check. It was ridiculous, you guys. It was like $100 or like $400 or something. We were so pissed. We were so pissed. We were like, oh my God, we worked an entire year to get these. I mean, not that, it's not nice. $100 extra, $400 extra is still nice, but we literally thought, I mean, they made it out to be like we were literally gonna be like buying cruises and buying everybody's Christmas presents with these. Like, I mean, that it was gonna be some ridiculous bonus, which that never happened, so. Anyway, I'll tell more holiday stories when I come back. I'm at Tanya Jean, so I'm gonna be back in just a little bit. Bye. Okay, I'm back. Got Tanya her fountain pop, and her husband wanted a Reese's, and I think she got a payday. And then we drove around and talked. And that was about it. And, yeah. I didn't get anything to drink, because I was just sipping on my coffee. That was about my life. What was I talking about earlier? Holiday parties. Holiday parties. I'm gonna drive down here and then turn around and go home, because I want to let the peps out. I was gonna go home and lay down and take a little bit of a nap, but I don't think that I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna change and put on jeans and a hoodie, and then I think I'm going to listen to my audiobook. I want to listen to a little bit of Helter Skelter tonight. I've got to finish that before the end of the year. And I still haven't finished Let It Snow. So I think I'm gonna drive down here and then turn around and then head home. And I'm either gonna make it a short vlog tonight, or I will, oh man, he almost hit me. I'm like literally sitting at the light and they like turned and almost hit me. So anyway, so it might be a little bit of a shorter vlog tonight, I don't know. Tanya and I were talking about holiday parties too, and since she's always just got like, a few people that work for her, she always usually takes them out to dinner. And what did they do last year? I feel like they did something like really Christmassy last year. I think she may have, I don't remember. I think she took them to the old spaghetti factory downtown, and then they like walked around, or they went to some Christmas festival or something. She did something Christmassy with them last year. I can't remember. She went to a country music concert last night. She went and saw Luke Combs last night. She had a good time. I have got to take my contacts out tonight. They are like, my eyes are tired. Oh, man. I'm kind of tired too. I'm a little bit tired. Anyway. I need to go through and figure out what holiday books. Well, I need to do like a holiday inventory. I know that sounds corny, but I need to go through and see like all the movies that I want to watch this year and make a list of them. And then I want to watch like a lot of new ones this year, because there's so many like Hallmark and Lifetime holiday movies, that like Christmas movies that I've never seen, that I want to go in and I want to watch a bunch of new ones. Because I have a lot of favorites, but like a lot of my favorites are like Lifetime, Hallmark, country music, television movies, that there have to be other ones out there that I like. What's the one that I like about the Blizzard? It's like Christmas Comes to Willow Creek. Have you guys ever seen that? It's a really good one. About the guy that's he drives a semi, and He's like a truck driver. I think it's the guy that was in, is it John Anderson? Is that his name? That was in Dukes of Hazzard. It's like two guys. That's a great Christmas movie. Then what else do I want to see? Well, there's so many that I want to see. Why is that bus coming out of there? There's like a bus coming out of... Oh, it's full of people too. Coming out of Conner Prairie. I wonder what that's about. That's interesting. If it's a busload of prairie people. A bus, there's like Christmas lights up at Conner Prairie and stuff. I wonder what's going on over there. Tanya said that the holiday lights are up at the John Deere place. Oh, there's like a whole like place that you can walk through there with lights and stuff. We should go do that. What does it say here? Does it say, I don't know why I need to have my window down to see it, but I can't see what it says. Holiday worlds to explore. I'll have to get online and look and see what the holiday stuff is at Conner Prairie. I want to do some holiday stuff this year. But yeah, I need to make a list of like all of the shows I want to watch, cartoons and the Christmas movies, like, and then I need to make a list of all of like the Christmas books that I want to read. I wonder if there's any new Christmas books coming out this year, and like all the holiday books, and then yeah, I've been listening to Christmas music nonstop for probably a week now, so I've definitely gotten my fill of Christmas music already. I'll be, when the season is over, I will be probably ready for the season to be over. My fanny pack, I have this box right here that's like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, you know, like a shipping box. And my fanny pack is like, I can't reach it because it's way behind over there. And I want my lip stuff in it, but it's like in there. Or did I put it underneath here? No, because Tanya was going through it and looking at it. She's like, oh, I really like this bag. And I was like, thanks. Maybe I can get it now because I'm at a red light. Christmas time is here. But like there's a box, and so it slid to the very end over there. My aunt used to have these holiday open houses. I don't know why she didn't call them Christmas parties, but she would have these holiday open houses. And she would have like 4 or 5 like every season. And it would be like for different groups of people. And she would have it like for like really close friends and family. Which family was us, my mom and I. And Caroline and, you know, her husband. Is it like out of focus? Why is it doing that? And then she would have, like, she had different groups of women that she did things with. Like, my aunt was president of Junior League. So she would have, like, all of her Junior League friends. And that would be, like, one open house. And then she sat on several boards in Indianapolis. And she would have another open house for all of that. And she would have all these different open houses. My aunt loved to entertain. And at Christmas time, I said to her one time, I said, Aunt Kathy, my God, you get so much stuff done, because she would make all these foods and wonderful like candies. She was a great cook. And she and my mom both, although my mom burned every cookie that she ever made, they would make cookies from a cookie press. My aunt used to make these beautiful cookies from a cookie press. I don't know if you know what a cookie press is, but it's like where you put the cookie dough like in the thing, and then you push it down, and then on the end of the cookie press you have like like what the cookie will look like. And so you push it down and it literally just like comes out of this like hole in the end, and then it like, you know, looks like a 4-leaf clover, or, you know, they're just beautiful, and they're like little cookies and they're all like that big. And then, you know, she would have them decorated. Just, I mean, she was like, my aunt did everything. My Aunt Kathy, it was just so beautiful. Like, she would do flower arrangements. She would go buy all the flower arrangements for her house, and just beautiful flower arrangements, and the cookies would be perfect. And so she would make these cookies, and then like she would start making them like in October, and then she would freeze them for her open houses. And then when it was time for her open house, she had all these cookies ready, and she would wrap these presents. And I swear to God, every person that my aunt ever knew got a present for Christmas, right? And I would say, Aunt Kathy, like when I was older, this one time I was like, how do you get all this stuff done? And she would go to bed, my aunt would go to bed at like 6 or 7 in the evening, and then she would get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, something ridiculous, like 2 or 3. And at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, she would sit there and she would watch Christmas movies, like old ones. She liked like White Christmas, Holiday Inn, those kind of, you know, the Bells of St. Mary, things like that. The Bells of St. Mary is a Christmas movie, right? You know, those kind of Christmas movies, Miracle on 34th Street. And then she would sit there and she would wrap all these Christmas presents, and the Christmas presents were just always beautifully wrapped, and there always was a theme to it. Like one year, I don't know why this is one of the years that I remember when I was younger, but she used blue and white polka dotted paper, but it was all different sizes. So some was like polka dots that were really small, some were that were bigger, but like literally every present under the tree was blue and white polka dot paper of different sizes and different bows, and some bows were all blue and some bows were white. It was just beautiful, you know, and there was just, I mean, she thought everything through like that, and everything was just, and Caroline's very much like that today too. Like, it's funny that Caroline turned out that way, because I mean, I guess not, because, you know, Kathy was her mom, but it's funny that, because Caroline, I never thought she would be that person, like when she was like growing up and in high school and stuff like that, you know. She was very much just like jeans and, you know, like a sweatshirt and a turtleneck, and like she used to wear those like high top Reeboks that all, you know, with the Velcro strap on, all the girls wore like in high school, you know what I mean? Permed hair. So the fact that like Caroline turned into like wanting to have everything look so perfect it's kind of funny, you know. But my aunt used to always make Christmas so beautiful and so magical, and just beautiful candles lit everywhere. And I used to like, so like on Christmas Eve when we would go over there for the dinner when I was younger, before we changed it, we started having it at my mom's house. You know, the Christmas tree, she had this huge Christmas tree in the living room. And then she had a little one in her other, like, and that was like in her main living room, and her like other living room where the fireplace was and stuff like that. She had like a little one in there. And I would go underneath the Christmas tree. I did this at home too, but like at my aunt's house, I would go and I would look at each present, because on the back of the presents was where she would put the tag. And it would say, you know, like, to Peter from, you know, Aunt Kathy and Uncle Dave and Caroline. And so I would get so excited, and I always knew which presents were mine. But I would lay underneath the Christmas tree, like when the, you know, all the adults were like in the other room, like listening to music and talking and whatever. And I would just like look up, you know, Peter, and like I always had like a little tie and sweater on, and very dressy on Christmas Eve. And I would look up inside the Christmas tree. It was just something beautiful about Christmas to me, you know. And I think like one of the things that I'm thankful for is that even though like I'm not a super religious person, I'm not religious at all, I'm very spiritual, you know, it was ingrained in me the idea of what Christmas was all about, you know. And so Christmas was very Santa Claus and Rudolph and everything at our house, but at the same time, Christmas was a religious holiday, and, you know, and we would talk about it, you know, like it was something that my mom would talk about, and more so my mom than my dad. My dad didn't really ever talk about it, but even though he grew up going to, you know, church all the time and parochial schools and stuff like that, but, you know, my mom would always say, let's not forget what it was about, and, you know, and the whole idea of the Advent calendar, you know, the Advent candles, we would do Advent candles at my house. don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but I think there's 4 Advent candles that you light before Christmas. I think it's 4. And so we would do all of that. Somebody just texted me. So we would do the Advent candles. I think there's 4. And, you know, we would read the story every year of Mary and Joseph and the wise men and all of that kind of stuff. The gift of the Magi and... Christmas was always just very much a very still time for me, you know, when I was growing up. But I think, like, for me, the thing that made... I know this is gonna sound crazy, but, like, the thing that made Christmas the most magical for me was going into treatment at Christmas time. So my sobriety birthday is December 17th of 1994. So I was in treatment over Christmas and New Year's. And that Christmas, like, I told everybody I didn't want them to come and visit me in treatment, and very few people wanted to anyway. I mean, really, my family didn't want to come because they were so angry with me. And I did have 2 friends that came to visit me on Christmas Day, and I visited with them for a little bit. But I was, like, alone, you know, in treatment on Christmas, and it was blizzardy outside. It was like one of the worst winters we've had. And one of the things that made me realize and I hope I communicate this the right way, was that Christmas is literally just another day. It's, you know, it's no different than any other day of the year, except for what we do with it. Like, if we choose to spend time with our families, if we choose to do this, if we choose to do that, you know? So, like, even though I make joke and be like, oh, it's, you know, gotta go over to my in-laws or whatever, you know, like, well, I never really say that because I love my in-laws. But you know how, like, we joke and we say we have to spend time with our families, or people will be like, God, like, I have to go to my mom's house for Christmas and whatever. It's like, you know, until you realize that, you know, like, you know, I was stuck in a treatment facility over Christmas. Christmas had no meaning to me whatsoever that year. But it had every bit of meaning, too, because I had just been kind of given this new life. And even though I wasn't, like, sober with gusto, I wasn't like, yes, I'm so excited to be sober. Like, inside of me, it wasn't missed for 1 second. Like, this gift that I was given. Like, I knew I should have been dead. Like, I knew that. So even though I wouldn't be sitting there saying in groups and everything, you know, like, oh, I'm so thankful to be sober this year. Like, I wasn't saying all that. Like, I was pretty thankful to be sober. Like, in a weird way. And I can remember, you know, like, standing outside, you know, and it was, like, just snowing and snowing and snowing. And I had this huge winter coat that my dad had, like, taken to the dry cleaners, and he had gotten dry cleaned for me because it just was so disgusting. And he brought it in there for me, and I would just stand outside, like, you know, I would wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. My sleep schedule was so horrible, and I would wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would go outside, and I can remember it was in between this one hallway and where the cafeteria was, and that's where we had to smoke. And I would stand out there and I would smoke, and it would just like, it was like so, like, the wind and the snow and everything, but it was so peaceful at the same time, you know? And it just was like, I felt very safe in there. I felt like it was a time for me just to work on myself. And so in a weird kind of way, it was one of my favorite Christmases looking back, you know? And I remember we woke up on Christmas Day morning, and they had put these little, like, real pine trees that were like this big. They came in like, like a little pot, like a little, it had like potting soil, and it was like in a little, you know, like pot, like just a little one, you know, but it had like 4 or 5 ornaments on it. And then they gave us the Christmas tree, and then they gave us like a recovery. I think one of my meditation books, like, actually got that year. We each got, like, because there weren't a lot of people when I was in treatment. There weren't, like, my group was big, but by the time that Christmas and New Year's came around, there weren't a lot of people in there, in my group. I think in the hospital as a total there were, but in my group there, you know. And a lot of the people that I was in treatment with were these guys that like worked for factories, and so they would, like, their insurance would pay for them to go to treatment once a year, and so they would just like check in at Christmas time to go into treatment, because they just basically got this, you know, treatment kind of vacation that they would go to. Insurance companies don't do that anymore, but back in the day, you know, they would pay for like 30 days of treatment, like once a year. So a lot of these guys that I was in treatment with, who were all just so amazing to me, it had been like their fifth and sixth times to go into treatment. But anyway, so I remember I woke up that Christmas day, and that little Christmas tree was there with those ornaments on it, and then like the candy and the book and stuff. And I don't know, there was just something real special about it, you know? And then like when I moved out of there, or when I went home, like later, I gave that tree to my mom. Like, I kept it for a while, and then I gave it to my mom, and she planted it right next to her door. Oh my God, the battery is gonna die. Seriously? Well, I have another battery with me, but she planted it right next to her door at her condo, and it was there until Alex and I moved in. It was like this huge, turned into this huge like pine bush kind of thing, but it was all like, it was a mess, and it was like, like if you pruned it back, it still would like grow way out and stuff. So I ended up taking it all out because my mom had hostas there and it just didn't go. And I took all of that out of there because at some point, like, half of it was dead and the other half was like kind of like spinning out of control. But it was there, you know, for like 13 years, something like that, 14 years. It's crazy, isn't it? But then after that, it made me really start appreciating holidays. It made me really realize that it wasn't that I had to spend like holidays with my family. It was that I was blessed to have family to spend the holidays with. And it made me look at things completely in a different way, you know? And I just was really thankful for any holiday that I got to spend with my family, you know? And I hadn't been asked to go to anybody's for Thanksgiving that year because I was such a mess. My dad had called me right before Thanksgiving and said, like, okay, so here's the deal. You're not going to anybody's for Thanksgiving, you know, because basically I couldn't be trusted to show up sober. And my mom and my aunt didn't really know what to do if I showed up and I was a mess. And so he called for them and also let me know that I wasn't invited to theirs. So I had nowhere to go for Thanksgiving that year. And then my Christmas that I had, you know, I was in treatment that year, so. But I feel like in retrospect, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, so to speak, like that I was able to have that kind of magical Christmas, you know, like that still Christmas, that introspective Christmas that I got to just focus on myself and be like, you know, like, okay, like this Christmas is for me, you know what I mean? Okay, I'm gonna pull into the Conner Prairie entrance and I'm gonna change the battery. Probably not gonna vlog a whole lot more anyway, but. Okay, I will be right back. Okay, the battery is changed. And we are on our way. And I think this battery has juice in it. We'll see. I guess in about 2 seconds. If it starts flashing on me, then maybe we don't. I don't know. Anyway. I was telling Tanya, you know, like, so I get up every day and I just kind of, you know, throw on a t-shirt and jeans, or, you know, like when it's warm, a t-shirt and shorts, or I'll put on my like hoodie and jeans and whatever. And like if I take a shower and stuff, I usually take a shower like later before I go to bed, and unless I have somewhere to go and something to do. And but my life is such that now I like my life is such that I don't have a reason to get up, you know, and be like, okay, you know, shave and trim my beard and do my hair every single day and look nice and stuff, but I always feel so much better when I do, you know, that, that even though, like, you know, I'm still taking a shower every day, it's like before I go to bed or whatever, you know, that I need to, like, maybe, I don't know, like, I've been needing to get more of a schedule, but I just really, to be honest, like, I like to stay up late and I enjoy being up. I was kind of tired earlier, but now I'm kind of awake. It's weird. I remember this one Christmas. I don't know why I always think of this. And it was funny because I said something to my aunt about it a couple years before she passed away, and she totally didn't remember it. But so, you know, she would have these like parties on Christmas Eve and you know, around Christmas and stuff. But it would always be Christmas Eve, and because at some point, you know, like we would leave or, you know, go home, and, you know, or we would be put to bed or whatever, and so there was like this, you know, there are a lot of people there, 20 or 30 people at my aunt's house, and people are talking and, you know, drinking and dancing, and so, you know, it's fun, it's a party. It's very Auntie Mame-ish. I grew up in like this very kind of, if you've ever seen the movie Auntie Mame, I grew up in that kind of, you know, culture, which isn't great for kids, but at the same time, it was fun to grow up in, and it was, you know, characters and eccentricities, and it was fun, you know, it was like, it was kind of fun. Just, I mean, Caroline and I would sit there as kids and we would just like watch it all go down, you know, it was kind of fun. And, what eccentricities. But, you know, like a lot of eccentric people that were artsy and different, and it was fun just to sit there, you know, and I feel really blessed to have grown up with a lot of the people that my parents had in their lives. Like, I grew up with some very cool, artsy, different people, you know, that I don't think I would be who I was today if it wasn't for them. And, but I can remember this one time. So my aunt had this gas fireplace in her living room, and so it was like this, I had like this stone like ledge that you could like sit on, and so she pulled me over there and we sat down, and she read me the book, and it was the only time that she ever did it that I remember. Maybe she, I don't know, maybe she did it more, I don't know. But anyway, but I remember this one specific incident, and she read me the book, A Cup of Christmas Tea. I don't know that I've read the book ever since, I don't remember it, whatever. But anyway, she read me this book, A Cup of Christmas Tea, and she sat there in the middle of all these people, and she read me this book, and like people got quiet and started listening to kind of what my aunt was saying and stuff, and it was kind of funny. But like I always remember that memory that she like, you know, like took me to the side because she knew that I loved stories and books and stuff. She took me to the side and read me this book, and it's like one of my favorite Christmas memories. I don't know why. I always think about that, like, you know, like with Caroline and I, there weren't a lot of other kids there. It was Caroline and I and a bunch of adults, and we were all like kind of just running around, she and I, and like I can see us like underneath the dining room table and, you know, like talking about people or like playing a game in the back room, or, you know, we always play with like Fisher-Price people. We were obsessed with the Fisher-Price people. And but like the holidays were always so much fun. They were always so magical. And we would get over there early, and then it would just kind of go on all night long. We would all be all so dressed up, and it's funny because like I can see it in my head, and I would love to like, I wish I could just like take a picture of what it looked like and show it to you guys. You know, like my aunt and uncle had this like huge stereo system in their living room, and it was like this wood stereo system. I don't know if anybody ever had one of these, but you like lifted the middle part of it up, and it was a record player, and it had these knobs where you could also play the radio. But they would play like Christmas albums, and they would play like Perry Como's Christmas and Joy to the World and all this kind of stuff. And so we would, you know, Connie Francis Christmas and stuff like that. It was all these like old records that we would listen to, and then there were just like candles lit everywhere, and the lights were dimmed. You know, and my aunt had all these kerosene little glass. They were very cool. They looked like eye drops. Do you know what I mean? Like the eye drop kind of thing. And they were like these kerosene lamps. And they just would like flicker, and it was just beautiful. There were candles everywhere and Christmas lights and food, and the smells were amazing. And, you know, people were telling interesting stories, and it just was, it was magical, you know? And yet, like all of that is great. But there was always the background there of, like, at the end of me being, like, a little afraid of, like, did mom drink too much and she's slurring, and so that was always a part of it too, you know? And then when things switched, when my mom put the car in the ditch and we stopped going over to my aunt's house on Christmas Eve, then we didn't have the parties anymore. It was like, it was just my mom and I, my grandma, my Aunt Kathy, my Uncle Dave, and Caroline, and that was it. And we would have like a fancy dinner, and then they would leave, and it would be me and my mom and my grandma, and we would watch like some movie or something, and then I would go to bed. But they were very quiet Christmases after that, you know? When my mom and I got sober, I think like a couple years before, there was one year that we took a walk, and I think I may have talked about this on here, and we were both been drinking, and I was real frustrated with her, and she kept on like kind of falling on the ice and snow. It was like icy outside, it was like wintry mix, and I got frustrated with her, and I came back and I put her to bed, and I remember, it's so funny because I lived right up here, you guys, and I put her to bed, and then like the whole downstairs was like a mess, and she's like, I'll just do it tomorrow. And I sat down there and I did all the dishes, and I put on some Christmas music and a movie in the background, and then like I literally, like, all the wine glasses were still filled and stuff like that, and I sat there and was like drinking a glass of wine, like pouring down all of her alcohol. I was so pissed, like no recollection of what I was doing. And then I remember I think I drove home to my apartment, and then came over there for Christmas Day the next morning. But after that, my mom and I would walk. We would like go to Kathy's on Christmas Eve. My first boyfriend, so this would have been my first 4 or 5 Christmases. He had a lot of brothers and sisters, and they were all little. And he was out to his family, but not like 100% out. So his brother was gay too. His brother passed away, but his brother was gay too. So he would go over there and he would stay with them. They lived on like the south side, and he would stay with them like after my aunt's house. So he would come and have dinner and stuff with us, and then he would go. And so I would go back to my mom's house with her before I went to our apartment. And she and I would take a walk, and we would have a cup of coffee, and then like we would take a walk, and then we would come back and have another cup of coffee, and then she would watch the midnight mass, you know, the what do you call it, with the Pope and stuff like that. And then I would go home, and that was kind of like how we had our Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day I would go back over there. I always liked to sleep in my bed. And so that was like our first couple Christmases sober, and that was this thing that we started with, like taking a walk. And then with my ex, I don't remember, because he was really a part of our family. And I don't really remember if we went over there afterwards or what we did to my mom's place. I think we went over to her condo afterwards, because by then she was in the condo. And we would just like sit around and talk and stuff and drink coffee. And then we would go home. And then we would come back over there for Christmas morning. But then we would open presents, and then we would go visit his family, because they lived out of town. And then, yeah. But my mom would always want me to stay there on Christmas Eve, and I never wanted to. I was like, Mom, I just want to go home. I just want to, you know, be at my own place, and I don't want to have to like pack a bag and all that kind of stuff. Christmas is so different now, you know? Like, not in a sad way. They're not honking at me this time. They're honking at all of them over there. But, like, not in a sad way, but I guess kind of like, you know, like, even Caroline and her family, like this was like a huge thing. So like at the same time that they started going to Florida every other year, they stopped how they did Christmas presents. So they would open all of their Christmas, and this was about the same time that Caroline got married. Caroline, well, that would have been a couple years after that, because it was because of her stepsons. They would open all the Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. Well, we didn't do that. So for us, my mom and I would leave so that they could open all their Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. So like now, we do that at Alex's family's, but we don't stay at Caroline's that. I don't even know if we're doing Christmas Eve this year with her or Christmas Day. We haven't even talked about it yet. So, I don't know. But you know, it's weird. It's like, it's a completely different Christmas, and nobody really, there is nobody that is around that, you know, I think that's one of the hard things about being an only child. There's nobody around that like knows what my Christmas was like with my mom, because she's gone and I'm not with my ex, and you know, whatever. And Alex has been so awesome in like some of the traditions, like instituting some of the traditions, like pajamas and cinnamon rolls and those things, which are really those are Peter created traditions. Those are mine. So I don't know, maybe Alex and I this year, we need to create some new traditions just for the two of us. I think that would be kind of fun, but you know, it's hard. And I think it's something that you don't really realize while you're doing the same traditions every year over and over and over again, that there will be like a year that you don't do those traditions, you know what I mean? So I don't know, if I could say one thing to any of you out there, I would say, you know, cling on to those traditions while you can, you know, but maybe come up with some new ones every once in a while too, so. Anyway, listen, I'm going to get off here now. I'm going to go home and put on a hoodie and some jeans, and I'm going to listen to my audiobooks. This nail is like snagging on my sweater. I need to trim it. But anyway, I hope you guys are having an amazing Sunday, unless you have other plans. I hope you're doing something fun today, like, I don't know, Netflixing a show, or watching a show on Netflix, or Disney Plus, or the Hulu, or the Amazon Prime, or cable, or whatever, or going to brunch, or just sleeping in, or whatever. Or if you're working, I hope you're having a great work day. Do something fun today. You're exchanging a day of your life for it. Life is not a dress rehearsal. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Make sure that you look at yourself in the mirror every single day, and you say, I love you. You are worthy, you are important, you are valuable to this world, and that you believe it in your heart of hearts, your heart and soul, deep down inside. And most importantly, that you pass it on to somebody else and you let them know how important they are to you. It just went completely out of focus. Did you see that? Is it going to end out of focus? And let somebody else know how important they are to you. Call them up, write them a postcard, write them a letter. Just let them know. Roll over in bed and say, I love you and you are important to me. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Love ya.